Hi guys, Rhonda without an H here with you. Okay, so this is the video where I'm going to show you how to make these amazing journal covers. I'll give you the dimensions of the ones I'm doing, but obviously whatever size you want, you'll adjust your measurements accordingly. All right, let's get started. Okay, we're going to start with we've got some glassine paper, and I got this from just the large glassine bag. I do carry these in my store, my Etsy store, but you know, you can use this for the real crinkly, or you can use a tracing paper perhaps, or deli paper has a pretty nice crinkle. So we have basically, we have a bottom or an inside fabric. This is fabric. This is an old feed sack actually. And that's what I'm using. And then, so I'll put that right side out, wrong side up. And then I also have a layer of batting. Some countries, I think it's called wadding. Anyway, this is just a real thin quilt batting. And then we have our top layer. And this is going to be the front and back of our journal cover. We'll quilt, add our different fabrics and our pocket on this side, and this will be the back. So, all right. What I'm doing first is I am just using stick glue to kind of hold things in place so that when I'm stitching, it doesn't all get squee-wompish out of place. So we'll put the batting on top there. And what you can do, you can make it just a little bit bigger than the actual size that you want. This is 8.5 inches wide and 7.5 inches high for what I'm doing, which creates about a 4.25 inch booklet size. And then we will also just put some more stick glue down on our batting, and love it. Okay, so this is the way that's going to work. You know, it will open up. This will be the front and the inside. And then I also have cut a piece of fabric that will be the pocket that will stitch on the inside when we're ready to do that part. Okay, now, so what I'm going to do here for my own, to make sure I keep things in, you know, perspective, and I've made it just a little bit wider myself, but I'm going to come here in the middle ish and just kind of, well, let's see, it would help if my pencil, okay, I'm out of ink or pencil lead there, so we'll just kind of draw, oh, what the heck. This is not working. Anyway, you get the idea. All we're doing is just giving, I've kind of made a line. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'm just sort of made a line, just so I know kind of where to put things. It gives me how the book is going to look when it's closed. So the next thing I want to do is to take my small glassine bag, and what I've done is I have just glued a picture that I liked on the front. You can use a Mod Podge, decoupage medium if you want. It just needs to be glued down fairly well because you don't want it lifting up on the front of your cover. So then, because I want to be able to slip a tag in, and just for playing with this, I'm going to use a tag from one of my other books, and I want this turned under. So what I'm doing is I'm just making a little slit in the sides there so I can turn under my pocket. It's a little bit fiddly, so you kind of have to work with it a bit. Let me move that out of the way for just a minute and bring it in just a little bit closer. So I'm going to fold this, and I'm going to fold it in, but to give me where to fold and to put some glue on there, I'm going to do it while it's folded the other way. All right. So we just had company here. One of my sons and his sweet wife left this morning. It's always so wonderful to have them come and visit, and love to have family come and visit. And then I'm always a little bit sad, when everybody leaves. And so I was thinking, well, what better way to cheer me up than to do a video with my friends online. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, so this is going to be my pocket, and I took it down, I folded it back to the edge of the picture. So when I put this in, keeping in mind, I'm going to stitch this pocket on. So I'm stitching around each of the 3 sides, and I will stitch this side as well, but I'll use fabric to do that part. All right, so I'm positioning my glassine bag. What a great way to use up some of your glassine bags and create some really delicious things. Okay, we are ready to start sewing. So this is a Quilt-as-you-go method. I usually start with the top piece. So I've pulled out some of my fabrics to match these colors. I've pulled out some purples. I've got a little bit of that going on here. Let's see. I've got some greens to match this green. I've also got some yellows, and I've got some pinks. All right. So my table gets really messy. My work surface gets really messy as I'm starting this process. All right, I'm just grabbing a piece. This was sitting on top of my pile. Look at that. Ooh, I like it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stitch. Let's see. I have to remember what I'm doing. Okay, right sides down. And I want this, I'm going to stitch as close as I can to this edge here. And this is a part that you do kind of have to be really careful about. And as I'm noticing, there was a little bit of my glued down paper that was pulling up just a smidgen. That's why it is really important. Now, when I put the right sides together, I don't want these to butt up against each other, because if I stitch it down like that, I have stitched up the opening. You know, it's pretty, but there's no pocket. So if I take this about 1/4 of an inch on the other side, and I'm careful to stitch straight down, then when I open it up, hopefully I'll have done it correctly and you'll have your pocket. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch that, and I'll be back and show you. So as you can see, I have stitched across here, and I've kind of felt as I went along. Now let's see if I did if I did this okay. So we'll just finger press. Aha! I have a pocket. All right. So I did that fairly well. Now, then I will continue, and I will put my next piece of fabric. I just kind of go around. I try to get the pocket stitched in first, and then I add the rest to cover my glassine here. Okay, so I've got some yellow going on here. I'm looking here, and I just want to bring in some little pretty color. Let's see. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Yeah, let's use a little bit of that. Okay. I have all these small bits of fabric that I have either taken from larger pieces or purchased, you know, some fat quarters along the way. I keep all these threads, and I love the frayed thread look, but for this particular project, I don't have as much of that going on here. So I wanted the length from here to here, so I just kind of eyeball it here to there, and kind of keep an eye on that. And I will get my cutter and just like that. So I'm going to do my fabric face down, and now this is the only one where I lay it a little bit differently, and that's to keep the pocket open. But now I'm going to go ahead and stitch straight and line up my fabric to the edge of my bag or other fabric. As you can see, here we've got this going on, and I will trim that off as soon as I stitch this down. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch this down from here to here, and I'll be back. So I trim my threads down on this project. Just why? I don't know, because I like to trim the threads off for the most part. You'll notice on the insides of these, this will extend, and it's because of the method that I'm quilting, and I like that look. So now I have stitched this down, and when I fold it out, you'll see now I'm framing in my flowers, I'm framing in my pocket, but I don't need this, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of fold this up, and we'll just trim that. We'll trim that off, and I save this. I mean, yeah, save it for when you're making more fabric or something of that nature. All right, now I'm going to determine, do I want this to go clear out to my edge and you can see underneath where the edge is, or do I want to cut it shorter and add another piece of fabric? See, these are all decisions that you make as you're going along. That's what's so fun, is you just get to kind of play with it and look at it and say, yeah, I like this. Oh, I don't know about that. Let's try this. Love that. Love that process. So to keep it simple, I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll let this be just the one piece here. So as you can see, I'm bringing that back. I'm laying that back upon itself. I'm going to take my pair of scissors and get in between in my fold, and I'm just going to cut down my fold, so then I have this wonderful piece of fabric and it comes out to the edge. So now I can, if I'm doing like a log cabin style, then I would continue. I'd go here, and then I'd go here, and then I'd go here, and continue around. But you don't have to do that. And I also want to make sure that I'm putting in some embellishments. Now see, I've got laces and things going on here. So I want to show you how I do that as well. For this particular piece, I'm going to put in some lace. So I need to decide, which lace do we want to use? And sometimes I will go ahead and put the lace on the outside after I have stitched the right sides together of a previous layer. For instance, I can add lace right here to this, and it can extend to here and extend to here. And then when I stitch another piece on here and another piece on here, it will be attached. It will be in the seam allowance, which is kind of cool. But to do it, I would glue it lightly with a glue stick, and then I would take this back to my sewing machine and stitch to make sure that it's stitched down nicely. So we've got that. I pulled out just a few that I wanted to kind of play with, maybe see about using. That's kind of pretty, isn't it? Ooh, I like that. Okay, maybe. I also picked up this. This is a pretty, that's really pretty, but I think it kind of overwhelms my bouquet of flowers here, so I don't think I want to use that. And I've got some other laces here. Excuse me, please. Just a minute. Need a drink of water. Okay. All right. I think we'll go ahead with this. This looks really pretty. So I'm going to make sure I do my right sides together. Right side up. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So I'm putting the glue stick down, And I am just kind of going along here and just making that so that I can stitch that down, and then we'll continue on. All right, I'll be right back. We've stitched that down nicely, so now it's time to pick another fabric, and I think we might go with a green. A green. I like that. Okay. All right. So this one, I need about this much length. So I'm just going to go ahead and snip off a little piece of this. And this is a really, I love batiks. And it's one of the reasons I love them is it's really hard for you to tell, well, which is the right side, which is the wrong side, because they're gorgeous on either. So we'll go ahead and line that up, and I will stitch and see where my picture was glued to and comes. I really don't want, like, it's a little bit off, but I don't want it to show that because I'm anal about those things. So I'm going to sew it just a little bit crooked, so hopefully I can get it so it looks straight, if that makes any sense. So that's what I'm going to do, and I will be back. So I try to keep my threads clipped as I go along. It makes it much less messy. And I will trim off this little bit of lace, and that too will go in my little junk thread thing. I just emptied this yesterday because it was stuffed, and so now I can gather a bunch more of those threads and such. All right, that's not too bad. It's not perfect, but it's pretty nice. And then, of course, this will be my next. And do I want to go ahead and put a purple? Do I want to go ahead and do another green? Do I want to do a pink? What about a yellow? Yellow. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. That's really pretty, but I don't. What do you guys think? Come on. Ideas, your suggestions. What do you think? Do we like this? That's the right color. It's really bright, but I do like it. All right. So then, here again, turn it over so that I can put my right sides together, and that's a little squee-womp-ish, so we'll do it here. And I will stitch from here to here, so I can go ahead and take about that much off, approximately. Throw that in my scrap pile. Okay. So I'll stitch that, and then that'll be the pocket all stitched down. So get your stuff out. Hope you're starting to work on yours. I'll be right back. So then it's a matter of just repeating, clipping my threads. Looks like here I stitched a little past, which is good. That holds my stitch in well, and then I'm just trimming these off. The little extra, and I start to build up, you know, I get a little pile of these little threads and things, and then toss them in that little container that I showed you. So, and then I just kind of finger press it down. So there we go. Here is the pocket, just to show you again. Isn't that great? And this would look really well with this particular one too. The colors match nicely. So this is about this is a 2x4, how big is it? It's 2 by 4 inches. My tag is, that slips into my pocket like this. This is just fun. And the crinkle, you know, hello, that's wonderful. All right, so then I'll just continue with this. That's a big piece of purple. Do I want to have it be this big? Do I want to trim it down a little bit? And so we'll continue. I hope this isn't boring to you, because I really do. It's a lot of fun to do, but it, you know, I mean, it just takes a little bit to think about it and to, you know, just play with it. I just eyeball that and like, okay, that's going to be cool. Now, something that I do have a tendency to forget that I'm going to admit to and share with you here is don't forget your laces. Don't forget your lace. So I picked up this in an antique store, this vintage lace. Look how tiny and precious that is. Oh my goodness, yes. La 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 la. So if I want to have some of that in, how would that look done that way? That's kind of cool, actually. So I'm going to line up this on the inside. Like I said, if you're doing regular log cabin style, then you would continue, because this was my last one, my last seam allowance. Then I would go up here and sew, and then around, and then down here, and then over here, etc. But that's the fun part. You don't have to do it any specific way. All right, so I need to find which one is my right side. Right side. I believe this is the right side. So that means I want right sides together. So I'm going to lay that down, and just to make sure, I'm going to just on the very edge, I'm going to add just a little bit of glue just to make sure it stays down. And don't glue up in here, you know, really, that because you want, this is going to fold back over, and then it would just be sticky on your fabric. So now what color do I want? The yellow is too predictable right there. Green. I know. How about some, let's do a little bit of pansy. Yep, I like that. So I have a piece. I'm going to lay these right sides together, and I'm going to stitch here my 1/4 inch seam line. Then I will show you what I do. Okay, this is where we say, oh my goodness. At some point, my video camera quit working, but I didn't. And then I went this morning to review and saw that I left you right about here putting this piece on. So what I'm doing to show you, continue this process, I'm making another one. So let's introduce Miss Pink. So I am continuing to add lace and fabrics. This is kind of, I guess, this will be my shabby chic one. So now I'm looking to add a strip. Listen to the crunch. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, so I'm thinking that I want something that is a little subdued, and maybe, yeah, that looks pretty. This is actually under this piece of lace here. I like that. All right, so I am going to stitch this on, and I will be back. I'm double checking to make sure my equipment is working well, so I'll be right back. So I have stitched down. I will pull this over and I'll just kind of finger press it. Then I'm going to turn it upside down and I'll trim off this back piece, and then I'll go ahead and trim here as well. I have made this particular piece is just a smidgen larger than the 7.5 by 8.5. And by the way, these numbers are just, you know, this is what I'm working on right now. Travel notebooks would be 8.25 by 4.25, I believe. But this is a nice size. I like it. So, okay. Now, to kind of tack that down a little bit, I'm going to use my glue stick again. A glue stick is really handy for this particular type of a project because it tacks it down, but it's not permanent as some are. All right, now I probably want to put a piece of lace here as well. And this is kind of, you know, you just look at it, you play with it, you audition fabrics and laces, and you just see what you like. This is the same as this right here. That's kind of cool, and when I stitch this down, it ruffles a little bit, but it's not as ruffly, and that matches. Okay, so that's nice. Or let's see, this matches this, and I could do that, which brings in this color. It's just a little bit creamier than white, and everything else is white. I think this is the one we want. So then I'm going to go ahead and tack it just lightly. We'll put that up and make sure my right sides are together. All right. So now I will stitch right down here, kind of in the seam line, and then we will continue. I'm using also a variegated tans and browns on this particular piece. Okay, so here's what the inside looks like. Here's what the outside looks like. I think it's really pretty. This is going to make a gorgeous little notebook cover. So now what I'm going to do is trim this to my 8.5 by 7.5. And I stand up, I'm pushed down using my rotary cutter and mat board for this. Turn it around and we'll do the other side. All right. It has been a beautiful day today. I hope it's nice where you're at and that you're having a good day. All right. See the little pile of stuff? So I just keep a little pile there and then put it together and put it in my little scrap pile, and when I get a lot of these, I'll mix more fabric. Okay. Okay, we are getting close. We have a few more things to do. Before I put my edges on, I'm going to go around and I'm just going to sort of tack down areas that are open like this, so that when I stitch, it won't have a tendency to try to grab my fabric and pull it and make it pucker in weird ways, which sometimes fabric will do that. So we're just kind of tacking those things down. Okay. That's not too bad, actually. Let me just double check here. Okay, that's not too bad. So, you can, at this point, you can go ahead and zigzag around the edges. You can take a piece of fabric or ribbon, and let's see, like for instance, okay, let's just use it for instance. Say we wanted to have a little rough edge here and a little rough edge here, so it's kind of scrappy and you have the threads and that show when you pull the fabric, and you want that to show. Then what I would do is center it. I wouldn't make it this wide, but I would center it over and come to this side, and I would make it so that it's equal between here and here, equal distance. Well, and then I would tack it with my glue, and then I would stitch straight down, keeping a straight line, and that would be my edge. Another thing, and what I'm going to do is I do have to find what I want to be my edging, my fabrics. I could use that. Oh, you know what? I've got this sari ribbon. This might be kind of very cool. This could be very cool. And actually, this could be a nice edging with the way that I just showed you. How wide is this? Ruler, where are you? This is about 1.25 inches, so it might not be quite wide enough. Normally, for what I'm doing to create these strips, I use 1.5 inches wide fabric to create my binding. This is called binding. I'm not doing it the way I do when I quilt, because when I quilt it's one continuous, I don't have starts and stops. But this is a journal, This is fun, it's cool. So you don't have to follow all the rules. So I could do this, turn it over and stitch. But that's kind of light. I'm not sure. Maybe I want one of these darker colors to kind of make that pop. Just a little bit. Let's see what I might have in the way of something of that nature. Well, all right. I've got a couple of pieces, maybe. I've got this and this. Not a lot, but a lot of them are small pieces. Let's see. There's this. So what I want to do is look and see, kind of pretend, you know, the binding. That looks pretty. And this color is similar, but it's a little bit different. Let's try it and see. Move this up so you guys can help me out here. It's just a little bit lighter. Do I like the lighter, or do I like just a little bit more contrast? What do you think? Yeah, this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut some strips, remembering this is 8.5 inches long and 7.5 inches this way. So if I cut 8.5 inch wide strips, then I will be in good shape. This is a selvage. I don't need 2 layers there. So 8.5, so let's just go 9. We'll cut that. Get that off. And we will prepare 2 of these. You know what? Hang on, I gotta iron this. Have to press it down. When you are a quilter, you can't just let all those things be wrinkly. You have to do something to get them in order. Some things I can do, and some things I just can't. And the longer you have fabric, scrap fabrics or, well, any fabric, the longer you have them, the more memory they have when they are folded. So if you are keeping them for a special project or whatever, keep in mind that it would be a good idea, perhaps, to refold in different ways so that they don't, whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm trying to hurry. Anyway, so that eventually they can crease to the point where it wears the fabric out and it makes it weaker there. And so if you fold and refold and in different places, then that helps strengthen those. Okay, so what I'm going to do with each strip, these are for the top and the bottom, and I just cut them all the same. This is obviously longer than what I need, but that's fine. What I'm going to do is line this up, and this one really doesn't have a right or wrong side. If it did, I would put my right side to my right side down here. You can pin if you wish to. You can pin it in place along as you go. That's fine. And then you're going to stitch 1/4 inch in approximately. Try to keep your line straight to create your binding. So I'm going to do that, and I will be back. Okay. And actually, I went in probably closer to 3/8 inch than 1/4 inch. Now I'm going to finger press here. Got a little thread going here that I'll pull out. Okay, we'll turn it over. We're going to trim. We don't need all of that extra on there. Now I'm going to turn in about that same 3/8 inch, not quite 1/2 inch, And this is, you know, this may seem a little bit fiddly. Let's see. Let's bring it up a little bit so you can see a little closer what I'm doing. I'm just kind of finger pressing that. And okay. So I will, again, my glue stick. Just kind of lightly do the glue stick thing. And we'll just press that down again. It just holds it a little bit. It's not like, but it just sort of keeps it in place. Now I'm going to fold it over, and I want to cross cover my seam line right here. Doesn't have to be crossed over very much, just a little bit is perfectly fine. See that? And that is going to give me one side. So here again, this time I'm going to put my glue stick just a little bit heavier because I've got more fabric here and I'm stretching it just a little bit. So to make sure it holds, for me to stitch it down, I put just a little bit more glue on it. Okay. Okay, that looks great. So I will stitch this up. Now I'm going to do a zigzag, and you can do, I've done both actually. I've done, let me take that back out just a tad bit. I've done both a zigzag and I've done a straight stitch. If I'm doing a straight stitch, I'm going to stitch right here. This is called stitching in the ditch. Stitch in the ditch. Okay, so it's going to go right in that crease. Going to try to keep it right in that crease where it's almost hidden on the front. But then when you turn it to the back side, you're going to see, because I covered the line, went over just a little bit, then it's going to be just real close to the edge, but not, you're going to catch it in the fabric. So let me do that and I will return. Okay, now I'm going to show you. I did this deliberately, but not, I did this deliberately, but not. I wanted to show you doing it, stitching in the ditch, like I did here. And as you can see, and if I was using a cream colored thread or a very light pink thread, you wouldn't see this. I can see this now, but I'm using a brown thread, obviously. But if I had a light pink, you would hardly see it. When you turn it over, you see, and you see I start out here, and this is what I want you to kind of notice, and this just takes time and practice. I kept my stitch fairly straight, but you can see that I have not tacked all of the seam line on the back here, because some of my seam line, my fabric did not cross over my stitching line. So when I stitch this, you see, it can come apart, and we don't like that. So what I'm going to do now, bear with me, I'm not going to turn the camera off for this. I'm just going to go ahead and zigzag. And so that's actually a way you can cover up a mistake, or you can do that from the very beginning, and it's just, you know, it's just fun. It gives you a fun look to it. And it goes quite quickly. All right. Now see the difference, how nice that looks. And this looks nice as well. Let's bring that in a little bit. Okay? So then what I'll do is just continue, you guys. I'm going to do the sides first, and then the top and the bottom. It doesn't matter, top, bottom, bottom, top, this side, that side, you know. Just do equal apart. The reason I like to do the top and the bottom last is so that it crosses over, you see, and if the side were on top, it just looks nicer. I think it looks more finished if you have the top over the sides. But it's up to you. It's your journal. Do it how you like. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do the other three sides and show you just a little bit on the last one of the top or the bottom, just to kind of finish it off. And then we will put our eyelets in and the elastic, and we'll be done. All right.